Not only did they have this whole, a challenge of getting into a quarantine Vegas, they had zombies that could think, and you're fucked when the zombies could think. Like, this is so dumb, but to me, it's like refreshing in the genre when you have something this stupid that they have their own society and their own hierarchy, and there's a zombie queen that has a baby, and I'm like, how does that work?
The main zombie knew that it needed to protect his head, so he wore the hat, the magic bulletproof hat.
Yeah. And then all his friends died, and he got really upset. Very silly. Very silly. It's a very silly film. But yeah.
Hello, film fans. Joining Flixwatcher today, we have Ari.
Hi.
Petros.
Hello.
And Kobe.
Yo. That was a zombie yo.
The clue is we are reviewing Army of the Dead.
Thank you, as always, to the mighty people for the mighty, mighty tunes. And thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills.
Please do remember to write a review and rate us on Apple Podcasts and anywhere you can do where you listen to the podcast, because it really does help us.
And you can join in the conversation with us on Twitter
at FlixWatcherPod and on Instagram
at FlixWatcher.
Hello and welcome to Flixwatcher Podcast. Joining us remotely today, we have Ari and Petros. If you could please say hi to our listeners, tell them who you are and what you do, please.
Hello, my name is Petros Patsilivas, and I am the creator and host of Caged In, a Nicolas Cage podcast that has evolved into talking about the wider Coppola family.
Of which there are many, many. Are people still surprised he's a Coppola?
Well, yeah, I think some people do know, and they're very smug about it when they do know it. I
think you'll find he used to be called Johnny Coppola.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
you'll find out that the Cage is actually because he's a big comic book fan, and he got it from Luke Cage.
They got kind of the same face, sort of. Like when you see the family photos, you're like.
Oh, right, sure. I was going to say Luke Cage. And have you seen Luke Cage?
Good genes in that family.
Yeah, great.
Good film genes as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, they make good films. Sophie Coppola is amazing. Francis Ford, Schwartzman. Who else? Who are the big ones are missing? Who are blood relatives? I'm thinking here, not the
married in ones,
the bottom
ones, the hangers on.
Yeah.
Talia Shire has got obviously she's got the entire Rocky franchise. So that's a pretty.
Adrian.
Yeah. And then she's kind of. The thing is with all of them, and there's a whole strand of the family, and you can kind of guess who they are. Where it's like if you kind of go through my podcast back catalogue and look at the cross reference it with the family tree and go, how comes that person isn't on that any of their films been covered on the podcast? It's because there's a real straight to VOD section of the family. I kind of
the Coppola
look at it
straight to VOD pipeline. Yes, very.
Yeah, and the family tree that's just grayed out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I like to think almost like a wedding setting. You've kind of got the top table. Yeah, and then they're kind of
the VOD table.
The kid table 9, is it, with Stephen Merchant?
Yeah.
And all them lot like that. Yeah, like that film. Yeah.
Ari, who are you?
Hi, I'm Ariane Anantaputri. Ariane Anantaputri. I'm. That's what I use. All my names. I'm a writer. I'm a comedian. I'm a musician, filmmaker. I also do podcasts with the Breadcrumbs podcast. I have one called Drip Town Lemory Mane. It's about nostalgia for people who aren't old enough to be nostalgic. It's about pop culture artifacts from the early 2000s and 2010s. We've got a new podcast actually coming out called Franchise, where we do franchises, and we're starting out with the Fast and Furious franchise because I'm obsessed with them. So that's me.
Where do zombies rank on your obviously leaning into the choice today for nostalgia? Are you all about new zombies, or are you all about the old school zombies?
I am a huge fan of the Romero films, but I think the new zombies what I'm so interested with them, and especially the film we're about to talk about, is like the new lore that they have. They would have like ridiculous new rules and new names and skills, and it's very
ridiculous is the word.
Yeah, it's super ridiculous, but it's so funny and it's so fun. Yeah, that's my relationship with them.
Well, let's lean into the film. Can you tell us the film you've chosen, why you've chosen it, and then I'll get the timer ready for your 60-second maximum synopsis.
Cool. So I've chosen Army of the Dead, the new Zack Snyder film on Netflix. I picked it because I was genuinely curious to see something Zack Snyder has made that has some color in it, and that wasn't a DC blockbuster, because his stuff is always so divisive, and public opinion and the internet are always, they always have something to say about Zack Snyder, and he seems like a all right dude, seems like a cool dude. He dropped some pretty sick Batman fan art today on Twitter that made me lose my mind. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but
no.
Yeah, it's in reference to the recent Batman discourse about whether or not he goes down on Catwoman, and Zack Snyder was like, "It's canon."
Right, okay.
But I usually have a good time at a Snyder film. I know like Sucker Punch is horrible, and the Snyder Cut was 4 hours long, but I usually have fun. I like looking at pretty people, and he always casts pretty people. And I really wanted to make my own mind up about a film like this, and I love zombies, and I'm a huge fan of Batista, and I wanted a good time.
So hopefully we won't sway your thoughts.
Yeah, hopefully.
We'll get to that in about 30 minutes or so. Okay, timer starts now.
So after a zombie outbreak hits Las Vegas, a group of mercenaries led by Dave Bautista as Scott Ward gambles their lives inside the quarantined Vegas Strip to recover $200 million from a casino vault. On the flip side, Bautista's daughter, Kate, played by Ella Purnell, who works at the refugee camp in the quarantine place, she tags along. And she goes on a mission of her own to save her friend. That's it.
Awesome.
I panicked there. I saw 30 seconds. I was like, shit.
No. I mean, there's not really that much plot. Petros, where are you on Army of the Dead?
I was going to avoid this film entirely. It didn't. I've been burnt by Zack Snyder. I'm not really like. I think, like Ari was saying, he seems like a cool guy. I just don't think his films are really for me. Like, I enjoyed, 300 when it came out, and like I think Watchmen is very much like a curio in the fact it was supposed to be like an unfilmable graphic novel.
Yeah,
but I think with the whole I even watched I wasted a week's free trial on Now TV just to watch the Snyder Cut, and I was like, this doesn't feel like it's for me. I don't get it. Like I just think, and this film it's an 80-minute idea in 2.5 hours. So like I don't. That
was the first thing that hit me when I'm not that much of a. I don't care so much about the running time as long as it's a good film.
Mm-hmm.
But when the concept of a film doesn't sustain, and you look at the running time, you think this isn't going to be worth 2.5 hours. That's the piece. Helen, I'm sure you got some things to say about the running time.
Yeah, I mean, 2.5 hours. It is long, but I knew that going into it. So like, I love horror films, and like zombie films have like a really soft, squishy place in my heart. Like they're always like really fun and really gruesome. You're probably guaranteed like to see a couple of heads explode. So I always like love to see that on screen. I mean, this kind of essentially is like a bit of a shit remake of Aliens, but instead of like aliens, there's like zombies. And I think I noted that it took 5 minutes and 44 seconds for me to realise that this was going to be shit. The opening titles are amazing. Yeah. That could have just been the film. And like, it's a bit of a shame because he made the remake of Dawn of the Dead in 2004, which I really, really loved and thought I was going to hate. But I have to ask, like, is he okay? Because there's a lot of stuff in here with zombie babies and mothers losing children, which kind of makes me think that maybe he should like stop making films for a while and kind of take a step back. Because, I mean, it's loud, it's gory, it's completely all over the place, and a lot of it is completely unnecessary, which I think is kind of like his films. That's his bag.
That's totally his bag. for sure. Like I think Zack Snyder is one of those guys that just does whatever he wants, and you know you got to respect that. But at the same time, it's like
he does everything as well, like directing, writing.
He was DOP in this, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like the one film I kept thinking about whilst watching it is another bloated like action film by like a kind of diversive director is Armageddon. And like, because it's that same thing of like, we've got this one mission to like, do you know what I mean?
We've got an Aerosmith soundtrack.
Yeah. We've got some John Lewis ad music like coming in at some point. Like we got a cover of Creedence Clearwater Revival by a girl on an acoustic guitar. But like that set, like Armageddon sets up everyone so well. And like you think about like Ocean's 11s and those films, like when the team are introduced in this film, I'm like, really? Like
who are you?
Yeah.
You've blown your load with that like opening sequence where people are like, there's rail guns, there's all types of like cool shit going on, and then it's just like there's that they just walk up to a fence and go, hey, do you want to fly a helicopter for us? It's like, where's there a bit of pizzazz to be like, here's like a, do you know what I mean, bang 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 flashy scene of the helicopter pilot, like almost like something like you would get like I don't know, like watching the Suicide Squad trailer. Like you think, and I've back to Helen's point about the Dawn of the Dead, is what this film lacks is a James Gunn script that film had. I think it's that thing that when Zack Snyder is left to his own devices, and even to the point of him like DOPing it, it's like, yeah, it's great you can do, like, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
well, I mean, your man who directed Roma, he was a DOP in that, and Cary Fukunaga, who did Beasts of No Nation. So it can work really well, but sometimes you just think, I mean, this one, what annoys me with a lot of horror films is when I'm questioning the logic in the story. And I try as much as possible, especially with zombie film, you have to take your brain out and go, that's it. Exactly. Like every step, I was like, why is he doing that? That makes no sense. Why are you telling me this? This is bullshit. And things like they walk into the wasteland and they'll have all these desiccated zombies. And they said, yeah, they're dried out now. It's going to rain. When it rains, they'll come back to life. I was like, okay, this will be interesting to see what happens here. That didn't happen.
No, and then a tiger shows up and you're like, oh.
And then then the tiger shows up.
You have to wait 51 minutes for the tiger. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I really want to see this tiger,
you won't get to
I've noted you have to go nearly into an hour before the tiger appears. It's on the trailers, but it's going to take a while. So just fast forward to that bit if you want to see it.
The tiger was quite cool, and the payoff for the tiger was quite cool. But the whole thing about the money, I really hated how we kind of divided the money. It's like, okay, 50 mil goes to us, my team. I'll give 15 million to my friends. And then he randomly so they get 50 million. Someone who decides to join at last minute gets 20,000 K. And I'm like, why would you do the stupid mission, which is clearly a suicide mission for 20,000 K? Even 50 million, I'm like, that's not enough.
Well, that dumb security guard, I was like, oh, he deserves less than that. What an asshole. The whole time I was like, I'm so glad that dude turned into a zombie. He's so annoying. But yeah, no, it's silly. It's that thing of like, it's so dumb, but I enjoy really dumb things, and I guess that's just me. And when you can take your brain,
but I don't mind the dumb. I don't mind it. I applaud the dumb. It's where you made you think, no, that makes no sense. No,
it's not even dumb anymore. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, you don't care about anyone, do you? Like,
no, not at all.
And I don't think you're meant to anyway.
But they're set up as red shirts, and it's like that thing of like, with Dave Bautista, and it does link back to Armageddon in that thing of like, it's like, from like frame one, when it's introduced to his daughter, it's like, right, he's going to have to sacrifice his life for her, or do you know what I mean? So, something like that is going to happen, and then it's that thing of, I don't know, it's very
everybody dies and everybody has
ticking them off the list. Spoiler. Right, that one's gone. Got a bit sooner than I thought, but they've gone, blowing themselves up. We'll see that.
It's also in a way obviously the safecracker, and there's that other lady, I don't know what her name was. I don't think it matters. The safecracker, they hadn't killed a zombie beforehand, but her death was brilliant. She had a great fight scene.
The head, that that girl or the girl with the blonde hair?
The girl when she got. It was in the scene where all the zombies were kind of in frozen motion, and she got sent down to the wrong place.
Yeah.
And she like blasts through the door, and the zombies are all over her. And so there was, for someone who hadn't fought zombies before, she was fighting them off with every fibre of her being. The other guys could have helped her out. They could have shot at the zombies. They didn't do that. They just kind of stood watching her getting piled up by the zombies. But I was like, okay, this death is interesting. Mm-hmm. Fine. There's going to be some more interesting deaths. No. It's just like one thing you want with a zombie film is interesting deaths and interesting ways for people to get killed and stuff. And the vast majority wasn't that.
Yeah, it was really weird that they spent so much more time with the zombies. I think an equal amount of time following the.
Yeah, what do you think of the alphas in general?
God, that's so ridiculous. But
completely unnecessary.
Completely unnecessary. But I also was like, oh man, I've never seen this before. This is so dumb. But it's like to me, it's like refreshing in the genre when you have something this stupid that they have their own society and their own hierarchy, and there's a zombie queen that has a baby, and I'm like, how does that work? Because you're both dead, and zombies are meant to be mindless. They're not meant to be, fast or organizational. So I thought it was funny that not only did they have this whole, a challenge of getting into a quarantined Vegas, they had zombies that could think, and you're fucked when the zombies could think.
And that's the main zombie knew that it needed to protect his head.
Yeah.
So he wore the hat about 50% of the time. The magic bulletproof hats.
Yeah. And then all his friends died, and he got really upset. Very silly. Very silly. It's a very silly film. But yeah.
Go on, Petros.
Well, it's just for a film that like looks like it be, and like the marketing for it's like neon and stuff like that. It's very dark. Like there are scenes in it, and it's like that moment to where she's sent down that alleyway of like frozen zombies. It's like there's a shootout in that bit, and I turned the lights off, I'd pulled the blinds, and even still I was like, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? And it's like that thing of like Zack Snyder DOP'd it, but like the focus in it is terrible. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, unless something's really close up to the, I know that's a stylistic choice, but it looks shit. Like the film looks really muddy and like drab. I wanted that opening title sequence for 2.5 hours. Or I didn't want it for 2.5 hours, but I wanted that for the runtime of this film, and something that was like just a bit. Yeah, the whole thing needed to be punchier, and even at 2.5 hours, there are gaping plot holes and like things that don't make any sense in regards to like. The love interest for Dave Bautista's character, does she survive? Or like, I couldn't remember what happened.
She got her head, like, which I thought was a pretty cool kill because you could see her collarbone pop out, and I was like, shit, that's gross.
Sorry, the woman I meant was the woman that the daughter goes to save.
Gita.
Yeah, she kind of like falls out of the plane, but we're not really sure.
Yeah, and
like no one would survive that nuclear blast anyway. Yeah. Like nuclear blasts don't just stop at a wall.
Yeah.
Well, they kept making pains to say it's a junior nuclear blast.
Yeah, it's a little one. It's a little one.
Yeah, it's a little one. It's going to stop where the fence is.
Where the fence is. It knows where to stop. Don't worry.
It's going to blast everything inside of all the buildings, but it's going to stop at the fences.
Yeah. And what I don't get is as well is like there is like it's a head-on collision between a car and like a truck at the beginning. There's an almighty explosion. There is a helicopter that falls out of the sky. Dave Bautista and his daughter, and we're assuming Gita as well, get out of that like relatively unscathed, like with a couple of like cuts and bruises. I was like, I don't get it. That would be decimated. That would be fucked. Like I just don't. I'm not buying it, Zach. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, have another go. Let's petition for the Zack Snyder cut, like
of the Zack Snyder
shorter,
cut.
not longer.
Yeah.
I also resent this kind of side mission thing where almost in a Saving Private Ryan thing where lots of people are sent in to save one person.
Yeah.
I always kind of think,
waste the resources.
Let's just do a count. Yeah. Let's just do a tally here. We're all going to save one person. A lot of us are going to die. That means if we don't go on this mission, more people are going to end up staying alive than if we go on this mission. Let's not do this mission. Yeah. So this side bit with Gita, just always, that kind of thing always gets my goat, because you just know more people are going to die as a result of this stupid decision that she made herself to go in. She's a full-grown adult. She went in there knowing exactly what might happen, and it did happen. So let her do her own shit. I know she's got kids, but zombie apocalypse.
I know that zombie films are very much like a kind of an allegory for things in the real world. I couldn't quite put my finger on
what this was an allegory.
What do you know what I mean? Like the original Night of the Living Dead is very much kind of about a kind of thesis on racism and stuff like that. And the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead is about like kind of mindless consumerism. And it's like with this, it's just kind of like, I don't know, like a 15-year-old boy jotted down like, wouldn't it be cool if zombies had babies? Yeah.
Cool, yeah. Wouldn't it be cool?
Yeah, and it's like zombie horse. Like it's like
zombie
okay. Yeah, that was dumb as well.
Zombie showgirl. Yeah. They underutilized Vegas so much, which really pissed me off because Vegas is so bright and cool and
because it's all CGI as well.
It's all CGI as well. Yeah.
Before we head to the scores, is there anything else you guys want to say? And also, what are your favorite zombie films and zombie lore? Do they have to follow zombie lore to make sense for you? Do you like fast zombies?
It does.
Alphas.
It doesn't have to follow zombie lore for it to make sense for me because I enjoy everything from The Walking Dead all the way to World War Z, which isn't that far of a reach. But no, I'm really into like I'm rewatching The Walking Dead with my mum right now, so that's where my zombie bag is. It's very much like character.
When you say rewatching, it's not finished yet, has it?
No, it's not. We're watching it from the beginning all the way up to like the last season to prepare for the season that's about to come.
Sure.
But no, it's I like the zombie films that are character driven. There's some cool kills, some nice people to look at. But Army of the Dead was just nice and mindless for me. It wasn't nice, but it was mindless, and I could shut my brain off and pick apart some things, laugh at some things, wish there were more zombie showgirls. But I can watch Dave Bautista in literally anything. So that's like...
He's a good on-screen presence. Helen and Petros, what your zombie... Helen, you said you loved a good zombie film.
Yeah, I mean, my go-tos, they're a bit obvious, but they are good. So, the Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, even Day of the Dead, which...
They're all the Romero joints.
Yeah. And the remake as well of Dawn of the Dead is a lot of fun.
It's good.
And 28 Days Later, I thought was like brilliant. I really loved that. And then Brain Dead as well is kind of a good one for like pulpy fun. So popular, but they're good ones.
Petros.
I'm not really like an aficionado of the zombie. I think they're like my least kind of favourite monster. So even though I kind of do like that thing of like they are normally allegories for what's going on, I'm kind of like that somewhere there's a pandemic zombie film kind of in the pipeline or hopefully being shut down.
They're all technically pandemic films, aren't they? Like there's usually a disease like that starts it up.
So I guess my favourite, and it's obviously subverts it, is Shaun of the Dead, just because that perfectly for me encapsulates the genre really well. And I think it's a thing that film does is it does the beats of a zombie film, but at the same time is brilliantly funny and manages to capture a weird Britishness in it as well. But I think Army of the Dead, like if this is like my kind of this is how zombie films are going to be, it's not winning me round to the subgenre.
I always put a claim in for Train to Busan as a recent zombie film, which is just brilliant. But let's head to the scores.
Hello folks, I'm Sam.
And I'm Martin.
And every week for the last 5 years, we've got together to talk about the musician Tom Waits.
He's a gravelly voice singer that sounded like he doused his vocal cords in bourbon and set fire to them with a cigarette and wrote such classic songs as Way Down in the Hole, Downtown Train, Jersey Girl.
He's also the gravelly-voiced actor from films such as The Ballad of Buster Scruggs and Seven Psychopaths, both of which coincidentally are on Netflix and both of which Kobe and Helen have discussed here on Flixwatcher.
So make sure you check those episodes out, and when you have a little bit of a taste for the magic that is Tom Waits, why not head over to songbysongpodcast.com or search for Song by Song in your podcatcher of choice to listen to a little bit more about Tom Waits.
So welcome to our Flixwatcher scores. All of the scores are out of 5, and you can have decimal places if you wish. And we'll start with you, please, Ari, with your recommendability.
I'm going to give it a 3.5 just because I think everyone will hate it, but I think people would have a good time hate watching it, as many I do that with some films, and it's usually fun to sort of stay in the know with what's going on or what's popular or whatever. But it's fun and it's dumb if people are into long lulls, they can look at their phone. But there are some pretty sick sequences in it that I would definitely be like, just skip to this bit, it's kind of cool. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Petros?
I'm giving it a 2. Like I wouldn't really like, unless you suffer with like massive FOMO and you're like, I kind of want to be like a part of the conversation of what's going on, you can kind of skip it. And I don't know what the longevity in this film is, but I'm very hesitant to recommend it to people. And I don't know, unless you're curious and you're just going to seek it out, and if you've got a morbid curiosity. But I wouldn't go out of my way to be like, hey guys, Friday night pick, yeah, you want to get Army of the Dead on.
So what was that, 2? Helen?
Yeah, I mean, I actually had a lot more fun with this than I was expecting, but my expectations were like the floor, so that doesn't really say much. It's kind of an interesting one. I think if you want to see this, then like knock yourself out, but you probably, what you expect might be what you'll get. I don't think anyone's going into it expecting it to be a masterpiece. And yeah, I don't really think like people who are like really into Zack Snyder are even going to listen to what I said anyway, because, they're very like opinionated. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot worse films. Mm-hmm. I've seen much better films. So in terms of recommending it, I'm going to go straight down the middle with a 2.5. Make your own minds up.
Yeah, I'm also 2.5. I think I was almost when Petros sent Ari's choice, I was almost like, let's not watch this. But then I thought, there has been a fair bit of discussion about it that I've kind of leaned in, I've heard a bit of. So I was like, okay, let's just watch it. And then it's not punching down to rip into Zack Snyder. So fine. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be based on the discussion, but also it's not fun. And I just think it should be 90 minutes max. It should be simpler. There's a good idea in there that can, the nexus of it is lost in the nonsense. Take out the alphas, take out
the zombie baby.
Yeah.
Keep the tiger.
A zombie doesn't need motivation to kill people. No, that's the thing. It doesn't need child motivation. Anyway, repeat viewing score. Ari.
I don't know. Like I wouldn't watch it again immediately, but I feel like it's something I'd put on in the background. Like if I'm writing or something, like it's just nice chaos to have in the background. So I'm going to give it a
nice chaos.
Nice chaos, which is what it is. I'm going to give it a 2.7.
Petros.
I probably am going to end up watching this again, but it'll probably be like heavily beard up with a few friends and like some pizza. So I'm going to have to go 2.5 because it could go either way. I could see myself repeat viewing, watching it again, but at the same time, like I could easily just pass on it at the same time. So I'm going to have to be on the fence and a nice solid 2.5.
2 hours, 28 minutes. I mean, that alone is really not looking good. But hey, never say never. I'll give it a 1.
Helen and I are matching at the moment. I'm also going for 1. I can't see when I'd see it again. But yeah, never say never. Small screen score. Petros. Sorry, Ari.
A small screen score. It was made for Netflix, and I don't know if I'd want to see it in theaters. I don't think it would make a big difference anyway, given the visual effects. But I think it does work for a wide digital release because it's, more people can see it as it's that kind of film that starts that conversation. It's accessible, but it's, So I think I'm going to give it I'll give it a 4.
Petros.
I have to go 2 again on a small screen, just because like you can tell like there is elements of it where it's like we want to make this for the cinema, but then it just didn't have the chance to do it. I guess like with the pandemic and stuff like that, they're like, let's just, not even give it a push. Yeah, there's stuff in this where it's like I would like to have seen that on a big screen. Do you know what I mean? Like a head splatting and stuff like that. I want to see on a big screen.
Tiger biting the guy's head off.
Exactly. Yeah. All of that stuff I want to see on a big screen. Whereas at home, it's like it's fine, but I think, I don't know, I think I would have enjoyed it more had I been in a cinema with a large drink, some popcorn, do you know what I mean? Like, and
a cheering crowd.
Yeah, and not the chance to kind of at will just put it on pause or click up on my controller and be like,
how long left?
Yeah, how long? Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, they haven't got to Vegas yet.
Helen?
I'm also going to go for a 2. I would have enjoyed this a lot more at the cinema, and I think it would have had like good vibes with people kind of cheering, maybe booing, people perhaps walking out. I think because it's so ridiculous and so in your face, and you know, there's like just so much going on. You know, he's a guy who does make films for the cinema. He wants like the big exposure. So yeah, a 2.
Yeah, I'm going for a 4. I'm not sure. Obviously, they're going for a big blockbuster kind of look and feel, but I don't think they achieve it. So I think it kind of works better on a small screen. Apart from the fact, I think it would be fun in a kind of a raucous cinema to watch it with other people. So going for a 4. Engagement score, Ari.
Engagement score. I actually didn't look at my phone once all the way through, which I was shocked by. I thought I would like pause and go to the toilet or something. So I'd give it this is just for me, I guess, but I'd give it I'd say a 4, just because I paid attention this time round. I don't know, but that could change. Again, yeah, never say never. But yeah, definitely, it wasn't that hard for me to stay with it, even though it was kind of dull. But I don't know, I stuck with it.
Petros?
1.5, just for the sheer fact that I had to watch it in 3 installments. I kind of had to do you know what I mean? Go make myself some breakfast and kind of watch a bit, have a cup of tea and just be like, really? Do you know what I mean? When is the end coming? And then I think before I got to the end as well, I saw a screenshot on Twitter that there's call for the Chris D'Elia cut as well.
Oh,
and then
gross.
I was like, do I even want to watch the end of this film? I don't know.
I'd be interested to see snippets of what it would look like with Chris D'Elia versus Tig. But Tig was the best part of this film. Actually.
Yeah, it was so. After you found out that she wasn't there, she didn't meet the Mitchell, and it was almost seamless with the rest of the cast. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I think it's indicative of the times we're living in, because that information is all readily available. That do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess back in the day and stuff like that, you wouldn't have every detail of that we wouldn't have known. So whilst watching the film, I kind of found myself going looking for the seams for stuff like that. So I felt I guess that kind of took me out of it a bit.
It's like that film All the Money in the World, which Kevin Spacey was cut out of. And I have to admit, I went to watch that film because I wanted to see if it was seamless.
If you could see the seams in Photoshop.
Yeah.
If you could see,
I couldn't really tell anything then. I couldn't really tell anything now. But I think my thoughts now is just I've known Tig for a while now. I thought she's great. Everything she's done, I think, is fantastic. I don't know Chris D'Elia that well, but I think they looked out almost by having taken it rather than Chris. Yeah. But to be honest with you,
he's a little scumbag, that Chris D'Elia. But
yeah. Helen.
Yeah, it's
engagement score.
Tricky one, because some bits are kind of fun, and I really want to see what a zombie tiger kind of looks like. But yeah, some bits are just so boring, and yeah, it was the same as you, Petros. Just how long left? How long left? We're still doing this. So yeah, I'm going to go down the middle again. 2.5 for engagement. Some bits are yeah, this is fun. Zombies, yeah. Other bits what the fuck is this? And it is like that for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I'm going for 3. I think thinking about heist films, you want to see how they pan out.
Yeah.
So you kind of engage by the concept. So that kind of drives you through, but it wasn't a brainless one, and the logic steps and logic questioning at each point meant that I was both frazzled but more engaged at the same time by it.
It's like three films rolled into one. It's just pick one and go with it. And then the internal logic of time as well. It's we've got 50 minutes to get out of it, and then we've got 9 minutes that I'm I'm pretty sure if you look is about 15 minutes of screen time. It's just like, fuck, I don't know. I'm having a breakdown here, guys.
You're having a breakdown.
Yeah.
And that leads us to a score of 2.54375. So it's pretty much split down the middle. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's been an interesting conversation, and there has been a lot of chat on it online, not least on our Twitter account, which is at Flixwatcher Pod. Do follow us there, guys, if you're listening for the first time and haven't joined us on Twitter, because we do put a tweet out before we record saying something similar to this. We're reviewing the Army of the Dead with Caged in Pod and Ariane Anantaputri from the Breadcrumbs Pod. Have you seen it? Tell us your thoughts and your score out of 5 stars for an on-air shout out on Flixwatcher. And we had a healthy response to this, guys. So let's rattle through a few of these. Ari, since it's your choice, you go first.
Cool.
Pick anyone you want.
Anyone I want. Oh, I love this one. There's about half an hour of non-stop action towards the end, which is an absolute blast. It's from Liam H. Dempsey. Unfortunately, everything before that is pretty dull and doesn't make most of its premise. The characters are paper thin and the ending is shamelessly sequel baity, which is a very Zack Snyder thing to do. 2.5 stars.
Petros.
Yeah.
Right, I'll go for my good old pal, Mike West, who said, loved the opening sequence and that 15 minutes would have been a better movie. Was super predictable, but it's a Snyder movie, so was expected. Loved the relationship between Vanderhout and Dieter. I agree.
Yes, I agree.
But
that was good.
Wanted more. 3 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, they didn't make much of that. The best out of that, I don't think.
Yeah.
Helen.
I'll take this one from Easy Riders Raging Podcast, previous guest of ours. An awesome idea for a film, but has a terrible script. 0 genuine characters and was pretty boring throughout. Seriously, how do you make a zombie house boring? 1 out of 5.
Back to you, Ari.
I'm gonna pick one from No On 15 Allcast. It's a fun popcorn flick, no deep story to look for, just unplug the brain and enjoy the zombie tiger, which is exactly what I did. 3 stars.
Petros.
I'm going to go with Steve, Everything I Learned About Films podcast, who said, Zack Snyder needs people helping him out. He screwed up Zombies 11? Question mark, exclamation mark, question mark. There are a few cool parts, but it is 2.5 hour zombie heist movie. 2 out of 5.
Helen.
This is a scathing review from Joel Freeman. 0 stars. Came after 10 minutes, boring, grey, and just not fun.
That was 10 minutes. Everyone's kind of agreed that 10 minutes was the best bit, so he must have been really pissed off. Back to you, Ari. I think it's just 2 more after this. So, Ari?
Oh, yeah, so this is from Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers podcast. Sick. Get in, get that head, walk back out and save me 2 hours. Plus, they're all too good at headshots once they spurn that opportunity. Good intro, though. 2 stars.
And last one then from Petros.
I guess this is our main man, Dave Harris, who said, yeah, at first I thought it would be awesome with Dave Bautista starring, but lost interest fast. I guess, yeah, it very much makes a point, and it's the thing that it feels like the film just loses interest in itself and like loses interest in plot threads, where it's just like, yeah, we're just not going to pick that up anymore.
Yeah, it's like, let's just forget it.
Let's just drop that down. And one of my notes said that I know that the sequel will either be called like Army of the Day of the Dead or like yeah, it's going to be called Army of the Day of the Dead, isn't it?
Army versus Day or something like that.
Well, because it's like we're going to Mexico, and obviously
like Spanish in there, like Les Dias de Muertos or something.
Yeah,
like that.
It's going to be loads of people with like face paint,
skulls,
face paint zombies and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh, please don't happen.
Right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Can you tell us where we can find you online, and we'll say goodbye to everyone?
You can find me at Ariane Anantaputri on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find me at ADTLM Podcast for the podcast that I do, and you can find me and Petros at breadcrumbscollective.com or at Breadcrumbs Pod, which is where our podcast network.
You can find me on all good podcast platforms. Just type in Caged In Coppola Connections, or you can find me on all social media at Caged In Pod, And yeah, I'm always there chatting shit about random different things, spurting facts about the Coppola family, and some hot takes, lukewarm takes, cold takes on films. There we go. That's all I've got for you.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. It's been a blast talking about Army of the Dead. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to it too.
Thanks so much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes, and Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Ben, and that's Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.